Dream of the Red Chamber Chapter 57.
Let's set the scene because the context here is really, really important. Baoyu doesn't start this chapter in a bad mood at all.
No, he's feeling pretty good. He's just come back from a trip with his mother, Lady Wang.
Right, they went to visit the Zen family, and we should pause here for a second because this detail, it seems small, but the sources really emphasize it. This visit is eerie.
It is super eerie. Baoyu meets Mrs. Zen, and he discovers that the Zen family is basically a carbon copy of his own Jia family.
It's the Mirror family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The house looks the same, the furniture's in the same place, and this is the part that really messes with your head.
They have a son.
Who's also named Baoyu.
Imagine that. You walk into a house that looks exactly like yours, and the mom there is like, oh, my son Baoyu is just like you.
It's like entering the Twilight Zone. It creates this sense of unreality. Baoyu spends the day there, he meets the daughters, but the other Baoyu isn't home, so he never meets his doppelganger.
But the vibe is set. He comes home feeling like the world is a bit unstable, a bit dreamlike.
Mm-hmm.
But he's happy to be back. He has a nice dinner. Everything feels normal again. So, feeling good, he decides to go visit the Bamboo Lodge to check on Dayu.
Because she's been old. She's always fragile, and he's always worrying about her.
And this is where the vibe shifts from dreamlike to cold reality. He walks into the Bamboo Lodge and finds Ziwan Dayu's headmaid and fiercest protector
Sitting on the veranda, sewing.
It's a chilly day, the seasons are changing, and Baoyu notices she's wearing this moon-white satin jacket, but to him, it looks thin.
And he's a guy who's all about comfort, his comfort, the comfort of the people he cares about.
So his instinct just kicks in. He reaches out to touch her clothes, to check the thickness, and says something like, "You're gonna freeze out here."
Now, in the earlier chapters, when they were all kids, this would have been fine. Sweet, even.
Right, a young master looking out for a maid.
But this is the moment the rules change. They aren't kids anymore.
And Ziwan shuts him down hard.
She stops him cold, she pulls away and says, "Don't move your hands and feet."
Ouch, that is such a
It
rebuke.
was a very sharp boundary.
Yeah.
She tells him, "We're getting older now. It's not like it was before. People are gossiping. You need to keep your distance."
To protect Dayu's reputation, and then, and this part really stings, she just picks up her needlework and walks away. Goes inside, leaves him standing there.
The source text describes his reaction perfectly. It says he felt like a bucket of icy water was poured over him.
It's such a relatable feeling, isn't it? That moment you realize a relationship has changed without anyone telling you.
He's stunned. He just wanders off and finds a rock under a peach tree.
And he just sits there,
Yeah.
staring at the bamboo, completely shell-shocked. He's realizing that his whole garden world, where everyone just loves each other and there are no rules, it's dying.
He is having a full-blown existential crisis. And while he's paralyzed by this new reality, the author does something brilliant.
He cuts to a subplot that is so incredibly mundane.
Enter Swain. She's another maid, a younger one. She's walking back and spots Baoyu on the rock.
And she sees him holding his cheek, staring into space, looking like a statue. But her reaction isn't, oh my God, what's wrong?
No, her reaction is, is he having one of his spells of idiocy again?
I love that. The whole household just thinks he's weird. They call it being stupid.
She asks him what he's doing. And Baoyu is so in his head about this new rule that he snaps at her. He says, "Go away. I don't want you to get blamed for talking to me."
He's terrified. So Shuayan just shrugs, thinks he's crazy, and goes back to find Ziwan. And this is the comedy of errors part. She starts telling Ziwan this story about laundry.
It's so grounding. Anzal's brother has died, and Anzal needs to borrow clothes for her maid to wear to the funeral.
And Shuayan lent her a jacket, a moon-white satin jacket. But now she's stressing out. She's like, I really hope she doesn't get it dirty. Funerals are messy.
Think about that contrast. 50 feet away, Baoyu is having a psychological breakdown because he thinks his world is ending.
And the maids are gossiping about stain removal.
It really shows how indifferent the world is to his pain. The clocks just keep ticking.
Exactly. But Ziwan, she's sharper than Swayan. She hears that Baoyu is sitting on a rock acting weird, and she realizes...
I know, I might have got too hard on him.
She realizes she might have broken him a little bit, so she goes out to the peach tree to find him.
And this is the reconciliation. She softens her tone. She explains, "Look, I wasn't rejecting you. I was just trying to protect us from gossip."
And Baoyu is so relieved. He's like a puppy. He admits, I was scared everyone was going to stop talking to me.
And they start chatting. It gets really domestic. They even talk about swallow's nest soup.
Which is a huge detail. Swallow's nest is this super high-end, expensive delicacy.
Right, and Baoyu used his influence with the grandmother to make sure Dayu gets a bowl of it every single day for her health.
It's his love language. I can't marry you yet, but I can make sure you have the best soup.
Exactly. It shows his deep, practical care. So they're talking about soup. The tension is gone. Baoyu is smiling.
It seems like everything is fine. But then Ziwan makes a choice. And I still struggle with why she does this. She decides to test him.
This is the pivot point. She looks at him, sees how relieved he is, and she thinks, I need to know, is this for real? Or is he just playing around? So she drops a lie.
A massive lie. She says, well, enjoy the soup while you can. Because next year, Dayu is going back home to her family in Suzhou.
Now, Baoyu knows Dayu's parents are dead. But Ziwan spins this whole logical web. She says, the Lin family is an important family. They aren't going to leave their daughter here forever. Someone will come for her. She has to get married.
She makes it sound totally inevitable. And then she twists the knife. She says, Dayu told me to tell you to pack up all the little gifts she gave you over the years.
Because she's packing up yours to return them.
Returning the gifts, that is the universal symbol of a breakup.
It's over.
So Baoyu hears this. She is leaving. How does he react? Does he get angry? Does he argue?
No. And that is what makes this so terrifying. He doesn't react emotionally, he reacts physiologically. The text says it was like a thunderclap hitting him in the head.
Let's get into the symptoms because the description here is shocking.
It is visceral. The text says his face instantly turns purple and swollen. His eyes go straight, literally fixed in a stare.
And he loses control of his mouth.
Yes. Drool starts running from the corner of his mouth. He goes completely catatonic.
That sounds like a stroke or a seizure.
It's a total system failure. The maid, Kingwen, finds him, and she panics. She has to physically drag him back to his room. He can't walk.
The details are so specific. It says he is sweating profusely, but his hands and feet are ice cold.
Shock. He is in deep, deep shock.
And this line haunted me. If they give him a pillow, he sleeps. If they pull him up, he sits.
He has lost all agency. He's just a doll. The maids are terrified. They don't dare tell the matriarch yet, so they call for reinforcements.
Nanny Lee, his old wet nurse.
The voice of experience. She comes in, takes one look at him, and performs a diagnostic test.
The pinch test. I winced reading this.
She pinches his philtrum, that sensitive spot right under your nose, and she pinches it so hard her fingernails dig in and leave deep marks.
And Baoyu.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No flinch. No sound. He feels no pain.
That is horrifying. That's when you know it's bad.
And Nanny Lane knows it. She immediately assumes he's dead or dying. She starts wailing. She screams, I've wasted a lifetime of worry. He's useless. And useless here means gone.
So now the room is pure chaos. The old nanny is screaming, the maids are crying, and Baoyu is just sitting there, purple-faced, drooling.
Which brings us to the ripple effect. You can't keep a secret like this in that house. Ziren, Baoyu's chief maid, finds out. She finds out Ziwan said something to him.
And Jaziran is usually the calm one.
Right.
Not here.
She marches right over to the bamboo lodge, and she doesn't ask what happened. She asks, what did you say to him to kill him?
To kill him! That's the level we're at.
She describes Baoyu as half dead, with fixed eyes and cold limbs. But the critical part is, Dayu is right there in the room, listening.
Oh, God. Dayu, we forgot about her. She's already sick. How does she handle this?
It's a mirror image of Baoyu's collapse. The second she hears Yuren's description, Dayu vomits. She throws up all the medicine she just took.
And it's not just that. The text says she has a coughing fit that shakes her intestines and sears her liver.
It's violent. It shows the sympathetic resonance between them. When Baoyu shuts down, Dayu's body starts rejecting life. She tells Yiwan to stop helping her. She says, get a rope and strangle me.
So she's saying, if he's dying, I'm done. Just finish it.
Exactly. It validates this whole destiny thing. There are one soul and two bodies. If one goes, the other goes.
But back in Bayu's room, things are escalating. The boss has arrived.
Grandmother Jia, the matriarch. She finally heard the commotion, and she is terrified. Shirin and Ziwan rush back. Grandmother Jia sees Ziwan, and the text says her eyes were breathing fire.
She calls Ziwan a little hoof, which I have to say sounds kind of cute in modern English, but in this context.
It is not cute. It is a slur. It's like calling her livestock.
Yeah.
It shows that Grandmother Jia is ready to destroy whoever hurt her grandson.
She demands to know what happened.
And Ziwan realizes the massive scale of her mistake. She's probably thinking she's about to be beaten to death. She drops to her knees and explains, I was just teasing him. It was a joke. I just said we might leave.
And this is the moment. Baoyu, through the fog of his catatonia, he hears her. He hears Ziwan's voice.
He hears that it was a joke.
And he finally reacts. He lets out a sound, ah, yeah, and then he just bursts into tears.
Thank goodness the dam breaks.
The tension snaps. The whole household can breathe again. He cries. He starts moving. He's back.
And then he starts screaming, but it's repetitive. He just keeps yelling, if you go, you have to take me with you.
And this is where the comedy of errors really kicks in, right? Because the other people in the room, the nannies, the other maids, they didn't hear the joke.
No idea.
They just walk in and find the young master drooling and screaming while clutching this poor maid.
Completely confusing for them. Grandmother Jia, who we have to remember is the absolute authority in this house, the matriarch.
And she sees Baoyu clutching Ziwan, weeping, and her first instinct is the default assumption of a feudal household. The servant messed up.
She assumes abuse.
She assumes Ziwan has offended him, or maybe even beaten him, which would be a capital offense in this household. She is ready to have Ziwan punished severely.
But Baoyu is holding on to the maid for dear life.
He's using her as an anchor. He's saying, no, I'm going with her.
It's only when they finally calm down enough to ask questions that the truth comes out. Ziwan has to confess.
Right. She says, I was just teasing him. I said we were going back to Suzhou.
And the relief in the room is palpable, but then it quickly turns to bewilderment. Grandmother Jia starts crying herself. She says, I thought it was some huge disaster like a death or a sudden illness, but it turns out it's just a joke.
But there's a character here who steps in to make sense of it all, Aunt Sue.
Yes, I found her analysis really interesting because she seems to be the only one applying psychological theory to what just happened.
Aunt Sue is absolutely the voice of reason here. She validates Baoyu's reaction. She uses a specific term to describe him, Shinshi.
Shinshi, let's unpack that. How do we even translate that?
It translates roughly to having a solid heart or an honest heart. It implies someone who takes things literally, someone who lacks the guile to understand deception.
I see.
And she points out that Baoyu and Dayu grew up together. They aren't just cousins. They've been inseparable since childhood.
She says something to the effect of, even a cold-hearted adult would be sad to hear a close friend is leaving.
So, of course, she says, a sensitive child like Baoyu hearing this out of the blue would have a breakdown.
Right. She normalizes it. She tells the room, look, this isn't a physical illness. This isn't madness. It's a reaction to the threat of separation.
But, and this is the key conflict of the chapter, knowing the cause doesn't stop the chaos.
Not all.
Because Baoyu has already tipped over the edge.
He has left reality. He's now operating on what you might call dream logic.
Yeah.
And that brings us to section 2, the crisis of the name. This part reads like a farce written by Kafka.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
So Baoyu is lying there, traumatized by the idea that Dayulin Dayu is leaving, and in walks a servant to report on some household business.
And this servant happens to be the wife of the steward, Lin Zixiao.
And there it is, that syllable, Lin.
It's the trigger word.
It's totally the trigger word. Someone announces Lin Zixiao's wife is here to see you, and Baoyu hears Lin and loses his mind all over again.
He doesn't hear Lin the servant. He hears the Lin family is here to take Dayu away.
And he starts thrashing around in bed, screaming, it's the end! The people from the Lin family are here! Beat them out! Get them out of here!
It's tragic, but the reaction from the household is, it's immediate and drastic. Grandmother Jia, who is usually so dignified, has to improvise a lie on the spot to stop him from screaming.
She realizes she has to fight fire with fire. If he's believing a lie, she has to give him an even bigger lie.
So what did she tell him?
She tells him, don't worry, Baoyu, that's not the Lin family. The Lin family is all dead. They're extinct.
Wow.
No one is coming to get her because there is no one left.
The Lin family is dead. That is bleak,
Oh,
but effective.
moderately. Baoyu cries and says, I don't care who it is, except for cousin Lin Dayu. No one with the surname Lin is allowed here.
And Grandma Jia basically says, done. She issues a decree right then and there, and I think this speaks volumes about her power.
Oh, absolutely.
She essentially edits the vocabulary of the entire household.
She does. She tells the servants, okay, from now on, Lin Zixiao's wife is banned from the garden. We are essentially firing her from this specific duty.
And furthermore, she says, no one is allowed to say the word Lin anymore.
Think about the power dynamic there. She bans a common surname and bans a senior servant from doing her job, just to keep Baoyu's blood pressure down. It's absolute coddling, but it's also desperation.
But it doesn't stop there, does it? Baoyu is in such a state of heightened paranoia that his hallucinations start to attach themselves to physical objects.
Oh, the boat. This was so weirdly specific. I had to look up what this object actually was.
Me too. On the 10 brocade shelf in his room, there is a gold, Western-style clockwork ship, a self-moving boat.
Right, it's a toy, a curiosity from the West.
And in his delirium, he spots this shiny gold toy on the shelf. And because he's operating on that dream logic we mentioned, he points at it and screams, "That's the boat! It's coming to get them! It's docked right there!"
He demands they take it down, and when his maid Jiren hands it to him, he stuffs this gold clockwork ship under his cupboard.
Shoves it under the blanket.
He hugs it tight and laughs, saying, "Now they can't go."
That is just heartbreakingly childlike. He's hiding the transportation under his blanket so his love can't leave.
It shows the depth of his regression. He's bargaining with reality. If I hide the toy boat, the real boat can't sail. It's pure magical thinking.
So we have a banned surname, a hidden toy boat, and a hysterical heir. It is time for a professional.
Yes. Enters Section 3, the medical diagnosis. The imperial physician, Dr. Wang, arrives.
Now, usually, these scenes in literature are quite formal. You expect the doctor to come in, stroke his beard, and say something wise.
But the tension in the room is so high that it spills over into this unintentional comedy.
Right, so the doctor takes Baoyu's pulse. And poor Zihuan is standing there with her head down, probably feeling incredibly guilty.
The doctor doesn't know the backstory. He just sees a maid looking ashamed and a boy who is catatonic. But he gives his diagnosis: acute pain confusing the heart.
Acute pain confusing the heart.
And he quotes ancient texts about phlegm confusion caused by sudden anger or distress.
Phlegm confusion. That sounds gross to modern ears, but in traditional Chinese medicine, phlegm isn't just stuff in your throat, is it?
No, not at all. It's not just respiratory. It refers to a blockage of the kai, a turbidity that clouds the mind and the senses. Essentially, Baoyu has worked himself into such a state that his body's internal balance is completely blocked.
He's literally clogged with emotion.
Exactly. But the best part is the interaction between grandmother Jia and this poor doctor. She is not in the mood for medical jargon. She asks him point blank, "Is it dangerous? Just tell me." And she gives him two options.
This is the Karen moment of the 18th century, if you will.
Totally. Option 1. If he cures Baoyu, she promises a superior thank you gift, and she adds that she will have Baoyu personally come to the doctor's house to kowtow and say thanks.
Which is a huge honor, a noble heir bowing to a doctor. That's big.
Massive. But then there's option 2.
If you fail.
She says, if you delay his recovery, I will send men to dismantle the Imperial Hospital.
Dismantle the Imperial Hospital. She's not threatening to sue him. She's threatening to tear the building down.
It shows you the sheer arrogance and power of the Jia family. They view public institutions as things they can just destroy if they are displeased.
And the doctor's reaction?
Terror. Pure terror. He's bowing and scraping, saying, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. He assures her it's not life-threatening.
And the text says the tension finally breaks because the doctor is so scared that everyone starts laughing.
Right. He was so busy saying I wouldn't dare to the thank you gift that he didn't even realize she was joking about destroying the hospital.
It's a moment of relief. They realize Baoyu is going to be physically okay. They give him the medicine. He calms down a little.
But, and this is key, he still won't let go of Zihuan.
No. He is convinced that if he lets go of her sleeve, she'll just vanish and run back to Suzhou. So the crisis isn't over, just managed.
Right. Which moves us into Section 4, the recovery. The sun goes down, and now they have to get him through the night.
It's a heavy vigil. You have Nanny Li, Ziwan, Jiren, and another maid, Kernowin, all watching him.
And he's not sleeping well. He has night terrors. The source details that he keeps waking up screaming.
Either he dreams Dayu has already left, or that people are coming to get her with a rope. And every time he wakes up, Ziwan has to comfort him.
I noticed they break out the serious medicine here, too. The names are incredible.
Exorcism spirit guarding pills.
And orifice-opening spirit communication powder.
That is a mouthful. What do those names tell us about how they viewed his condition?
It just reinforces the idea that this is a spiritual crisis, not just a mood swing. Orifice opening refers to clearing those blockages we talked about, allowing the spirit to communicate with reality again.
So they are treating him for possession, essentially. Possession by grief.
Pretty much. And slowly, by the next day, the medicine works. He starts to come back to himself, and this is where his cousin Shang Yun comes in.
Ah, Shang Yun.
Yeah.
She's not known for her tact, is she?
Not at all. She's very direct. She's the tomboy of the group. Once she sees Baoyu as lucid, she starts teasing him. She describes his behavior back to him, how he was drooling, screaming, clutching the maid.
And Baoyu actually laughs. He didn't even know.
He had no idea. He thought he was acting rationally. He doesn't believe he was that out of control until he sees the evidence, the medicine, the tired maids, that gold boat under his pillow.
But even though he's better, the core issue hasn't been resolved. He still needs to know why Ziwan said what she said.
Exactly. Which brings us to section 5, the private conversation. This, to me, is the real heart of the whole chapter.
It is. Once the chaos settles, Baoyu and Ziwan are finally alone. He grabs her hand again and asks, "Why did you scare me?"
Ziwan tries to brush it off. She says, "I was just teasing you," but then she drops another bomb, another lie. She just can't help herself, can she?
She's testing him again, or maybe trying to justify her previous lie. She tells him, "Well, I heard Grandmother Jia wants to betroth you to King Ginyang King Keeking."
And this is interesting because Baoyu doesn't freak out this time. He uses logic.
Exactly. It shows his sanity has returned. He laughs and says, "You're sillier than I am. That's impossible. Qin Gunyang is already betrothed to the Mei family."
So he knows facts from fiction now. But then Zihuan pushes a little more. She's trying to gauge the depth of his commitment.
And Baoyu delivers what I think is one of the most intense, nihilistic speeches in the whole book. We call it the ash and smoke speech.
This is such a profound expression of devotion, but also of total negation. Baoyu is frustrated that people think he's just acting crazy or being dramatic. He wants to prove how real his feelings are.
Can you walk us through the imagery he uses? It's very specific and very dark.
He says he wishes he could die immediately, but not just die. He wants his heart to burst out of his chest so they can see it and verify his honesty.
Okay.
Then he wants his body, skin, and bones to be burned into ash.
So cremation. Standard enough.
But ash isn't enough for him. He says ash still has form. Ash takes up space, so he wants the ash to turn into smoke. But even smoke can condense or be seen for a moment. So his final wish is for a great wind to come and scatter the smoke in all directions, so absolutely no trace of him remains in the universe.
That is intense. I want to be deleted from existence.
It's absolute negation. In Buddhism and Taoism, which permeate this book, there is this tension between attachment, love, desire, and emptiness, or letting go.
Right.
Usually enlightenment comes from letting go, but Baoyu is doing the opposite. He is saying, if I cannot have this specific attachment, Dayu, then I do not want to exist in any form. I reject the cycle of reincarnation entirely.
It's almost a weaponized nihilism. If I can't be with her, I refuse to be anything.
Precisely. And for Ziwan, hearing this is terrifying, but also reassuring.
Reassuring? How is that reassuring?
Because it answers her question. Remember, why did she start this whole mess?
Right. We haven't fully explained her motive yet.
Ziwan finally admits it. She wasn't just being cruel. She was scared. She explains the difference between herself and the other maids. Ziren, the head maid, belongs to the Jia family. She's safe. But Ziwan was given to Dayu. She says, I belong to the Lin family. She's worried that eventually Dayu will have to leave because she's an outsider, and Zihuan will have to go with her.
So she was testing Baoyu to see if he would fight for them.
She says, I was worried you wouldn't care if we left, that you'd just let us go, so I made up that lie to test you.
And after hearing his speech about the smoke and ash, she gets her answer.
She does. Baoyu gives her a wholesale promise, a pact. He says, living, we live together. Dying, we turn to ash and smoke together.
We turn to ash and smoke together. That is a heavy promise to make to your girlfriend's maid.
It is, but it settles Zihuan's heart. She realizes that his madness wasn't a tantrum. It was proof. He isn't going to let them go without a fight or total self-destruction.
So they reach an understanding. The panic is over, and we come to the outro. Baoyu is recovered enough to finally let Ziwan leave his side to go check on Dayu, but he makes one last request.
It's a small detail, but so telling. He sees her makeup box and asks for a specific mirror, a small water chestnut patterned mirror.
Why does he want it?
He says he wants to keep it by his pillow so he can look at it when he sleeps.
It's like a security blanket, a piece of Z1, and by extension, a connection to Dayu that he can hold on to.
It shows that while the madness has passed, the insecurity is still there. He needs that tangible proof. And you have to think about the symbolism of a mirror in Dream of the Red Chamber. The book is often called The Story of the Stone or The Precious Mirror of Romance.
Right. Mirrors show us illusions, but they also show us the self. He's clutching a mirror, trying to hold on to a reflection of the person he loves, hoping she doesn't disappear. Meanwhile, frankly, if you read this chapter and don't feel a cold chill running down your spine about the economics of survival, you're missing the point.
It really is the ultimate bait and switch. I mean, we just came off Baoyu goes mad catatonic. Really, it's because of a rumor that his love, Lin Dayu, might leave. So you expect the follow-up to be all emotional fallout, but instead, the author just pivots to something so much colder.
The machinery.
The machinery of how this household actually runs.
We're going to look at three women, Lin Dayu, Jingxian, and Baochai, and analyze how they navigate a system that is, well, rigged against them. This isn't just a story anymore. It's a case study on vulnerability and the office politics of a massive noble compound.
And to set the scene, you have to acknowledge the calm after the storm.
Yeah.
Bayou's fever has broken, the madness is fading, the household is getting back to normal.
Yeah.
But in that quiet, we get what I think is the most dangerously honest conversation in the entire book. It happens at night in the bamboo lodge between Dayu and her maid, Ziwan.
And usually in this kind of story, a maid is just there to pour tea or maybe, deliver a secret note. But here, Ziwan effectively breaks character.
She does.
She stops being a servant and starts acting like a crisis manager or a geopolitical strategist for Dayu. She sits her mistress down and just speaks the quiet part out loud.
She performs a brutal risk assessment. She starts by validating Dayu's feelings, saying Bayou's breakdown proves he has a true heart. But then she pivots. She says, essentially, that's nice, but it's not security.
And she warns her that the current situation is just incredibly fragile.
The phrase she uses is poetic, but the meaning is, it's terrifying, she says. Old, healthy spring, cold autumn after heat.
She's talking about grandmother Gia, the matriarch.
Exactly. Right now, the grandmother is the spring. She's the warmth, the political cover, the only thing keeping Dayu safe. But seasons change.
Ziwan is forcing Dayu to confront the mortality of her only protector.
She's reminding her, you are an orphan, you have no parents, no brothers to back you up. If grandmother Gia dies, that protective bubble just pops, and once it pops, Dayu becomes a depreciating asset in the family market.
That's the part that really struck me. Ziwan lays out the worst-case scenario. If the matriarch is gone, Dayu's marriage prospects aren't up to her anymore. It would be up to others to deceive or bully.
She could be married off to settle a debt or to cement an alliance with some, random family, and she'd have zero leverage to stop it.
And notice how Ziwan dismantles the fairy tale alternative.
Oh, yeah.
She anticipates Dayu thinking, well, maybe I could marry a prince.
Right, some high-ranking noble. Ziwan just shuts that down immediately. She notes that those men, the princes and grandsons, they usually have 3 wives and 5 concubines.
It's such a cynical, realistic take.
Yeah.
She tells Dayu, sure, a prince might treat you like a goddess for 3 days. But then...
And you're just another face in the harem. You get thrown behind their necks.
She contrasts that with Baoyu.
Yeah.
Baoyu is a known quantity. They grew up together. She argues that safety, knowing his temper, knowing his heart, is worth more than any title.
That's the famous line, 10,000 taels of gold is easy to get, 1 understanding heart is hard to find. She's urging Dayu to capitalize on the moment.
Strike while the iron is hot.
Yes. The grandmother is still clear-headed. Lock down this marriage before the autumn comes.
But look at Dayu's reaction. She doesn't thank her. She snaps.
She accuses Ziwan of chewing maggots, which, by the way, is a top-tier insult for talking nonsense.
It's a great line.
And threatens to fire her. It feels like such a defensive reflex.
It is defensive.
Yeah.
Because deep down, she knows the maid is right.
Of course. That's why the text gives us that cinematic cut to later that night. Dayu doesn't sleep. She's cries straight through until dawn. She sees the cliff edge approaching, but she is trapped by the rules of propriety.
As a noble young woman, she can't propose to Baoyu. She can't march up to her grandmother and demand a wedding.
She has all the insight, but none of the agency. It's paralyzing.
And that paralysis is the perfect setup for the next section.
It really is.
Because the author immediately cuts away from Dayu's weeping to a scene that is the exact opposite of paralysis. We move from the emotional interior of the bamboo lodge to the corporate boardroom of the Yu and Jia families.
We're talking about the marriage of Xingjian and Zhu Ke, and calling it a merger feels appropriate because the contrast in speed is just jarring.
Right. We've spent 50-plus chapters watching Baoyu and Dayu circle each other. Then, in the span of maybe 2 pages, Xian gets engaged.
It starts with Yu Auntie. She's at a birthday party. She spots Xuan, who is a poor relation living in the garden, and thinks she's dignified, she'd make a good wife.
And her first thought is for her own son, Supan, which, let's be honest, would have been a disaster.
A total disaster. Supan is the family playboy, a guy who is described as floating and extravagant. He's a walking liability.
Thankfully, Zhu Auntie has enough self-awareness to realize her son would ruin a good girl. So she pivots instantly.
She thinks of her nephew, Siki, who is currently unattached. She decides they are a heaven-made match, and then you just watch the efficiency of the execution. There is no poetry here. There is no crying until dawn.
It's pure bureaucracy. Zhu Auntie doesn't go to the parents first. She goes to Fengji, the household manager. She knows she needs a broker.
And Fengji warns her that the girl's aunt, Lady Xing, is stubborn and difficult to deal with.
So they decide to bring in the heavy artillery, Grandmother Jia.
And Grandmother Jia loves this stuff. The text says she loves managing idle business. She views herself as the ultimate authority. So she summons Lady Xing and essentially hard sells the proposal.
She puts her own reputation behind it, acting as the guarantor.
And Lady Xing folds immediately. The text is very explicit about why. It's not because she cares about her niece's happiness.
No.
She agrees because the Su family is largely rich and because the matriarch is pressuring her. It's a transaction.
A transaction, exactly. Zhu Auntie has the idea, Fengji brokers the deal, Grandmother Jia stamps the approval, and Lady Xing signs off.
And then, to top it off, Grandmother Jia assigns Yu Shi from the other house to manage the logistics just so there's no friction between the in-laws. It is a well-oiled machine.
It makes you realize that the system can work efficiently, but only when the economics align.
That's the key.
Baoyu and Gaoyu are stuck in limbo because their union is politically messy and brings no new money into the house. But Shuyan and Shuke, that's a clean deal. Low risk, moderate reward, so it happens over a birthday weekend.
That speed tells us everything about the priorities of the clan. But speaking of priorities and money, we needed to dig into what I think is the most shocking part of this chapter. We've talked about emotional vulnerability and social maneuvering. Now we have to look at the raw economic horror of living in the Grandview Garden.
This is where we meet Qian again, later in the chapter. She's newly engaged, but she's standing by a stone wall, shivering.
It's freezing outside. Everyone else is bundled up in furs, but she's wearing these thin, unlined clothes.
And Bao Chai, who is the sharpest observer in the book, she misses nothing, spots this immediately. She corners Shuyan and asks, "Why did you switch to thin clothes in this weather?"
And the answer Shuyan gives is essentially a forensic accounting of her poverty.
I really want to break down the math here because it blew my mind. We usually assume everyone in this garden is just, living the high life. But Shuyan explains her budget. Every young lady in the garden gets a monthly stipend of 2 taels of silver.
Right, and to give some context, a regular maid might earn half a tael or 1 tael a month. So 2 taels is a decent middle-class income for a single person. It should be plenty for pocket money, cosmetics, that sort of thing.
But Shuyan has a family tax. Her father is a drunk, her mother is checked out, and her aunt, Lady Xing, is greedy.
So Lady Xing orders Shuyan to send 1 tael of that allowance home to her parents every single month. She is effectively taxed 50% at the source.
So she's down to 1 tael. Now, she lives as a guest in the house of the second sister, Yingchen. And you'd think, okay, housing is free, 1 tael is still manageable.
But this is where the text exposes the tipping culture of the household.
This is the part that feels so unfair. Yingchen, the mistress of the house, is passive. She's described as a wooden block. She lets her servants run the show, and these servants are thorny.
They hold immense soft power. In these noble households, if you don't grease the wheels, if you don't buy the nannies and maids wine, snacks, and treats, they can make your life miserable.
Oh, yeah. They'll forget to bring you hot water. They'll serve your food cold. They'll spread rumors.
So Shuyan, who is technically a mistress and a guest, has to spend her remaining money bribing the staff just to survive in a rich house without being bullied.
And the math just doesn't work. Her operating costs exceed her income. She's running a monthly deficit.
And that's why she's freezing. She explains to Bao Chai that she had to take her winter clothes to a pawn shop just to get a few strings of cash to pay off the nannies.
It completely destroys the illusion of the Grandview Garden. From the outside, it looks like paradise. From the inside, for a poor relation, it's a place where you can go bankrupt trying to keep up appearances.
It's expensive to be poor, especially when you live with the rich.
This is where Bao Chai steps in. We often stereotype Bao Chai as the perfect, rule-abiding feudal maiden who never rocks the boat.
Sure.
But here, she acts like a seasoned fixer. She doesn't just offer sympathy, she offers a bailout strategy.
She takes charge immediately. She tells Shuyun, stop paying them. She says, let the servants be thorny. She effectively says, I'll handle them. If they have a problem, they can come to me.
She positions herself as the protector. And then she offers to redeem the clothes from the pawn shop.
Which leads to the great punchline of the chapter.
I love this part.
Bao Chai asks where the pawn ticket is from. Shuyun says it's the Hengshu pawn shop on Gulu West Street. And Bao Chai just laughs.
Because her family owns it.
Exactly. The Su family owns the pawn shop.
Bao Chai makes a joke about it. She says, the person hasn't come over yet, meaning Shuyun hasn't married into the family, but the clothes arrive first.
It's a funny moment, but it also reinforces the massive class difference. The Su family is merchant rich. They own the infrastructure of debt that the poor relations are trapped in.
It emphasizes that Shuyun is marrying into a commercial family. The Su wealth is liquid. It's built on businesses.
And that merchant pragmatism comes out in the final scene we need to discuss. While they are talking, Bao Chai notices a jade pendant hanging on Shuyun's skirt.
Right. Tanshin, the third sister, gave that to her. Tanshin is proud and sharp. She saw that Shuyun was the only one without jewelry and gave her the pendant as a gesture of dignity.
She didn't want her cousin to look poor.
Right. But Bao Chai hates it. She tells Shuyun to take it off. She calls it useless.
And her reasoning here is just fascinating. She says, these decorations come from the lavish habits of noble officials' daughters.
She points to herself as the example. She says, look at me. I don't wear any of this rich and idle makeup. And then she drops this line that felt almost like a prophecy. She says, one time is not like another.
That phrase is the key to her entire character arc in the later chapters. She admits that 7 or 8 years ago, she used to dress like that too. She indulged in the luxury. But she senses the shift.
She is telling Shuyun, you are marrying into my family now. We are merchants. We are practical. And frankly, the era of unlimited spending is over.
She's essentially preaching austerity. It's so ironic because she is the daughter of the wealthiest family, yet she's the one saying keep to one's station.
It feels like she's the only one who sees the cracks in the foundation.
She is the adult in the room. While Dayu is paralyzed by emotion and the Jais are obsessed with face and status, Bao Chai is looking at the balance sheet. She knows that when the autumn comes, going back to Ziwan's warning, those jade pendants won't save you.
Cash and alliances will.
Exactly. Useless things are just a liability. The scene shifts abruptly, and I have to say, this source material is wild because it gives you absolute tonal whiplash.
It really does. It functions almost like a one-act play. The whole thing happens inside the Jiaxiang Lodge. That's the home of our tragic heroine, Lin Dayu.
And in the span of maybe 15 minutes of reading time, we go from this cozy, mystical discussion about soulmates
straight into a jarring collision with economic reality.
Yeah. We start with the red string of fate, and we end up holding a dirty pawn ticket.
That is the perfect summary about the psychological safety or, the lack of it for these wealthy characters.
And then how the intrusion of this one mystery object exposes just how fragile their high society bubble really is.
Exactly.
So let's set the scene. It's a very domestic moment. We have Bao Chai, who we usually know as like the perfect composed ideal of a daughter.
The Confucian ideal, yeah.
She's visiting her cousin Dayu. And surprise, surprise, Bao Chai's mother, Shu Aunt or Shu Ima, is already there.
And the vibe is just incredibly rare for this book. Usually everyone is posturing or reciting poetry or, navigating some complex hierarchy. Here, they're just hanging out. It's intimate. And naturally, the conversation turns to the one topic that dominates the lives of every teenager in this novel.
Marriage.
Marriage.
So Shu Aunt decides to drop some pretty heavy folklore on the girls. She brings up the old man of the moon. Now, I've heard this myth loosely, the soulmate idea, but her description here is much more visceral than the Hallmark version.
Oh, yeah. It's less rom-com soulmate and more inescapable bondage.
Right.
Shu Aunt explains that this deity, the old man of the moon, he manages the marriage registry of the entire world. And he carries a red string.
And this is the detail that stood out to me. He doesn't tie your pinky fingers, does he?
No. In this specific retelling, he ties your ankles.
Which just feels aggressive, like a shackle.
It implies you can't run. You can't walk away. Shu Aunt is very specific here. She says it doesn't matter if two families are mortal enemies. It doesn't matter if they're separated by oceans. If the old man ties your ankles, you will end up together. You will be dragged toward each other.
It's fascinating because she's basically removing human agency from the whole equation. She's telling these anxious girls, look, stop worrying. Your parents can't stop it, and you can't force it.
It's a sedative. She's trying to calm the anxiety in the room. But while she's preaching this philosophy of let it be, you have to look at what her daughter Baoyu is doing.
This was shocking to me. Baoyu is usually the ice princess. She's the responsible one.
Always.
But here, the text says she's rolling into her mother's arms, cuddling her, and acting like a spoiled toddler.
It is a huge break in character. She's regressing. She's letting her guard down completely. And Baoyu, who is watching this, she calls her out.
She does.
She says, you're usually so mature, but the second you see your mom, you start acting like a baby.
And that comment isn't just an observation, is it? It's a wound.
It is. I mean, you have to remember, Baoyu is the tragic orphan of the story. She lost her mother very young. So seeing Baoyu physically embrace her mother highlights exactly what Baoyu doesn't have. It's not just jealousy. It's this profound sense of isolation.
She's missing the safety to act like a child.
Precisely. She has to be an adult all the time,
Right.
because she has no one to catch her if she falls.
That vulnerability, it triggers a really complex interaction. Zusi aunt sees Baoyu as sad, and she tries to comfort her. She says, don't cry, I love you just as much as my own daughter.
But then comes the asterisk. But
Right. She admits, I don't show it publicly because people speak few good words and many bad words.
Yeah.
That felt so cynical for a comfort speech.
it's the political reality of the Jia household. Su-Aunt is a guest living there. She knows that if she's seen doting on Baoyu too much, the servants and relatives will gossip.
They'll say she's sucking up.
Exactly. They'll say she's only doing it to get in good with the grandmother, the matriarch, who obviously favors Baoyu.
So even a hug has to be politically calculated.
In this house.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every gesture is analyzed. But Baoyu is so starved for affection that she takes what she can get.
She plays along, she jokes, okay, since you love me like a daughter, I'll acknowledge you as my mother starting tomorrow.
And this is where the dialogue just gets so snappy. Baoyu, who was just acting like a toddler, instantly snaps back to being the sharpest person in the room. She yells, "You can't!"
And this is such a brilliant trap, linguistically.
It really is. In the Chinese context, Baoyu is playing with the words for adoption versus marriage. She tells Baoyu, if you are her daughter, you can't be her daughter-in-law.
Oh, I see. She's saying, if my mom adopts you, that closes the door on you marrying into our family.
It's incest taboos 101.
But wait, was Baoyu actually suggesting Baoyu marry her brother, Chupan? Because, yikes, we know Chupan, he's a disaster.
No. That's the surface joke.
Yeah.
Chupan is a brawler, a drinker, a total mess. Baoyu would basically die of shock.
Okay, good.
Baoyu is banking on the fact that everyone knows that's impossible. She is using the daughter-in-law joke to tease Baoyu about the other male option in the family orbit.
She's hinting at Baoyu, the main character.
Precisely. By keeping Baoyu as a niece figure, the marriage lines to Baoyu remain theoretically open. It's 4D chess masked as a slumber party joke.
And Su-Aunt just picks up the baton and she decides, okay, we're doing this, let's talk matches.
Yep. And then Su-Aunt has this theatrical aha moment. She looks at Diane and says, wait, I've been blind. The perfect match is right here.
She calls it perfect in all four corners, which is just such a satisfying phrase.
It implies structural integrity, a house that won't fall down. She argues that because the grandmother loves Baoyu and the grandmother loves Baoyu, combining them is the only logical move.
It's the validation Baoyu has been waiting for her entire life. But what interested me was the reaction in the room. Baoyu gets embarrassed, obviously. The rich girls are giggling. But there is one person who isn't laughing. Ziwan.
Baoyu's maid.
Yes. Ziwan rushes in and essentially begs Su-Aunt. She says, if you mean this, go tell the madam right now. Go make it happen.
This is such a critical moment for understanding the class dynamics here. For Baoyu and Baoyu, talking about marriage is a parlor game. It's theoretical.
It's a fun bit of gossip.
Yeah, it's embarrassing but exciting. For Ziwan, the servant, this is a matter of life and death.
Because she knows Baoyu has no backup plan.
Exactly. Ziwan knows the reality. Baoyu is sickly. She has no parents to advocate for her. She has no dowry. If the grandmother passes away before Baoyu is married to Baoyu,
But protection evaporates.
it's gone. She'd be cast out, treated poorly, married off to some random minor official far away. Ziwan sees the cliff edge that the noble girls are ignoring. She's desperate to lock this contract down.
That is such a sobering perspective. The servant is the only one doing the risk assessment.
Absolutely. The girls are looking at the stars. The maid is looking at the lease agreement.
And speaking of reality checks, we have to move to the second half of this scene because the mood shifts drastically.
It really does.
We go from perfect marriages to a dirty piece of paper on the floor.
Enter Shi Xiangyun.
Right, the other cousin, very energetic, kind of a tomboy. She bursts in holding something she found. She calls it an account book or an account page.
She's waving it around, totally confused. And the reaction from the older women, the servants in the room, is just immediate laughter.
Because they know exactly what it is.
It's a pawn ticket.
A pawn ticket. And the punchline is that Shangyin, a marquis's daughter, and Baoyu, who is incredibly well-read, have absolutely no clue what a pawn ticket looks like. They've never seen one.
It's a hilarious but stinging indictment of their privilege.
Yeah.
She aunt actually sighs. She says, "True noble families. Where have they ever see such a thing?"
It's beneath them to even know how money is borrowed. They understand gold, but they don't understand debt.
Right. And then the girls ask a question that makes them sound even more out of touch. They ask, "Do the pawn shops owned by your family, the Xu family, have tickets like this?"
Like, surely our pawn shops are nice, sir, right?
And the servants laugh again. They use a very famous Chinese idiom here. "All crows in the world are black."
All crows in the world are black. I love that. What's the deeper meaning there?
It means corruption is universal. Or in this context, predatory business practices are universal. It doesn't matter if it's the nice Su family running the shop. A pawn shop is a pawn shop. It extracts value from the desperate.
So the servants are basically telling them, your family's money is made the same dirty way as everyone else's.
It's a gritty slice of economic reality.
Yeah.
But there's one noble girl in the room who doesn't ask what it is. Bao Chai knows everything. She's the pragmatic administrator. She sees the ticket and immediately recognizes it. But notice her move. She lies.
She does. She tells everyone, oh, that's just an old, useless ticket that the maid was playing with. It's nothing. Why lie? Bao Chai is usually all about the rules.
Because she knows whose ticket it really is. And she knows that if she reveals the truth in front of the servants and the mothers, the owner of that ticket loses face.
And in this society, losing face is worse than losing money.
Absolutely. Bao Chai is fiercely protective of dignity. She waits until the adults leave to drop the bomb.
Okay, so once the adults are gone, she tells Jianyun and Dayu the truth. Who does the ticket belong to?
It belongs to Xing Juan.
Wait, the same Jun that Xiu Aunt was just talking about potentially marrying Baoyu?
The very same.
And Qian is drowning in plain sight.
Pawning her coat in the middle of winter.
This revelation, it really acts as a personality test for the three main girls, doesn't it? Their reactions are so distinct.
It's a perfect character study. A Rorschach test for their souls.
Right.
Let's look at Dayu first. What is her reaction to finding out her cousin is broke?
She gets sad. She quotes another idiom. The fox mourns the death of the hare.
Right. Things of the same kind sorrow for each other.
Yeah.
Dayu sees Juan's poverty and she makes it about herself. She feels vulnerable.
She thinks, that could be me.
Exactly. I'm an orphan. I have no money. I rely on the Jia family too.
Hmm.
She looks at the pawn ticket and sees her own potential future. It's empathetic, yes, but it's also deeply self-pitying.
Then you have Xiangyan. She doesn't get sad. She gets mad.
Jianyan is the hothead. She wants to storm out and confront the servants. She wants to demand why they are letting a relative suffer.
She wants to be the hero.
Yeah, she references historical assassins Jin Kai and Ni Zheng. She wants to be the knight in shining armor.
It's very shoot first, ask questions later.
Completely impractical. If she made a scene, she would just publicize Xian's shame. She would make it worse. She's thinking about justice, but not consequences.
Which brings us to Bao Chai, the manager. She physically holds Xiang Yun back. She calls her crazy.
Bao Chai's approach is, we will fix this, but we will do it quietly. We will redeem the clothes using my money. We will maybe have Xian move in with us so she doesn't have expenses.
She solves the problem without destroying the social fabric or humiliating the victim.
Yes. And it really highlights why Bao Chai is so capable, but also why she can seem a bit cold or calculating. She manages the situation. She manages the pawn ticket reality just as well as she manages the red string fantasy.
And that is the tension of this whole episode, isn't it? You have these two worlds just colliding.
Absolutely.